everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Danny here, and today I'm talking to you about Zombie Powder. So, Zombie Powder is written and drawn by Tite Kubo. I believe this is his first manga serialized, and it ran in July 99, ended February of 2000. Sadly, only 30 chapters, and of course, it was in Weekly Shonen Jump. And this was, right before Bleach. Been meaning to read this for a while now because I knew this was a series that got canceled. And after checking out Burn the Witch, I was like, you know what? I'm craving more Kubo content because say what you will about Bleach, the writing was fantastic when it was. For a majority of the series, it was really good. Why did he have a manga that got canceled? And it was only 30 chapters. I checked it out and it was interesting, I have to say. I like the characters. You could automatically tell within the first chapter, this is a very Kubo-esque manga. I can imagine a lot of inspiration for this series went over to Bleach, because as you go through the physical volumes, there's only 4. There's, sketches of the characters, and you can really feel the style that Bleach got from this. Even the original concept art for the main character, Gamma, he looked like kind of how Ichigo feels to a certain extent. Like there's certain aesthetic points with Ichigo that Kubo does where I feel like, oh, he got this from Zombie Powder, obviously. Interestingly enough, originally he was going to be a samurai here, our main character Gamma, but they decided to go somewhere else. Basically like Sephiroth with the long silver hair. He has a giant sword that is also a chainsaw, and that's pretty fun. And his right arm is infused with armor. They don't really get into too much detail about what that means, but it's like inside his body. That's what's going on. And we are actually introduced, classic shonen route here. We're introduced to a secondary main character here named Elwood. And, he's running with this gang so that way he can have money to get medicine for his sister who's very sick. Very classic stuff. And then here along comes Gamma. But as we find out later in the first chapter, he is a wanted man with a big bounty. And that causes the gang Elwood to work with ambush his house, ends up killing his sister. And with the hatred there, Elwood tries to fight back. And here comes Gamma, already planning to take them out anyways, comes in and fights them. And after they bury Elwood's sister, he decided he wants to travel with Gamma on a quest to find all 12 of these rings of the dead. If you collect all 12, you are able to either bring somebody back to life or become immortal. And that's Elwood's goal. He wants to bring his sister back to life because it's not fair that she had to go like this. And that's how we start off the manga. Eventually, we meet our other main characters and a couple supporting towards the end. I feel like this was inspired by Trigun and a bunch of other stuff of this era, right? Because this feels like a Western type of series where we're going to these towns, a lot of long stretches of travel between these plains. Some of these characters feel cowboy-esque, and I'm like, yeah, this is sort of like Trigun. Even our main character kind of acts like Vash a little bit, where he could be goofy, but he also looks stoic and serious. Supporting characters, it all feels very familiar and interesting. And yeah, sadly, we get to chapter 27 here for the series, and it feels like it's setting up for the next saga or the next big arc in the series, and then that's where it just abruptly ends. And the next few chapters are just like short stories. I noticed that Kubo really likes to do that with this series. Like, even when it's over, he'll come back and he'll write short stories that he wants for the series. And he did that here. And at the end of the final volume, there's a one-shot for just a different series that never got picked up. It's not surprising this series got canceled because, dare I say, this was ahead of its time. We're just breaking into the 2000s era of manga, and people really want high shonen action. The thing with Kubo, when it comes to his mangas, is, yes, he can do good action. There's plenty of that in Bleach, and there's some in here for Zombie Powder, but his strong suit is the long game. He likes to set up his characters, make sure they're well defined. We can really understand each and every one. They all pretty much have their own time to each other. Even here, the only exception was Gamma's. He has a partner. His name is C.T. Smith, and we've got teases of his backstory and what type of character he is, but we didn't get fully fleshed in because there just wasn't enough time for the chapters. And it's not until then when he really wants to get deep into the story and the action. I mean, look at Bleach, right? For the good section of Bleach, sure, there was some cool action, but it was all about developing our main cast before they really entered into the first major arc, which was Soul Society. And that's what they were leading up to here in Zombie Powder, but I don't think the shonen audience was really ready for that. Reading the Wikipedia, trying to understand why it just got the short end of the stick, and it was not well received in Japan. Very surprising, considering like it's very similar to. I feel like it has the same type of energy as Trigun, and that's a very popular anime series. So I didn't understand, but then it clicked. I'm like, oh, you know what? People want that action when it comes to their weekly mangas. They don't want to have to be patiently waiting for maybe one action sequence a month. That's just not something they were ready for at the time. So I think if Kubo would have done it here in modern times, it would have definitely been successful. I mean, look at Burn the Witch. That was a 4-chapter thing that, became a 3-part anime series. And it's a lot of build-up for characters and a few action sequences at the end, but look how popular it got. It was very well received in 2020. So I think, yeah, if Kubo would have came out with this now, it definitely would have been picked up and would have lasted a lot longer, and we could actually got fleshed out and see the potential of where we could have gone. And I mean, I guess the typical things you would find in a shonen manga just couldn't help sustain this thing, right? I mean, Ganna's the cool stoic character, like I said. C.T. Smith is the essentially the comedic character who can also get serious, and then you have Elwood, who's the character you can relate to because he's young and everything's all fresh to him as he's traveling with these guys. And then eventually we get a main character, Wolfgangina, I think that's how you would say it. And she's very typical. She acts like a tomboy, and she's got the big baps, right? It fits every category in Kubo's characters that he likes, right? So it just sucks to see that it came out in an era where they didn't want something like this, but it would have been great if it would have just kept pushing. And that sucks. And I think the only reason Bleach stuck around is because it's cool concepts. You're fighting hollows, you got a giant blade, you're a soul reaper. Like it screams early 2000s. That came out at the perfect time. And unfortunately this did not. I guess according to the Wikipedia, Kubo was actually going through some tough times as he was writing this. Yeah, it was in the 3rd volume. There on the cover leaf, the author's commentary on there. Yeah, severe emotional trauma when he wrote it. He was only happy with the quality of the series when it was nearing its end, which I think does confirm that this is Kubo's writing style that he really likes, because at the end is when we were starting to end the prologue arc, I guess you could say, of setting our characters and getting ready for the main story. He was introducing some stuff with backstory with Gamma because he's still a mysterious character. Like, we know his personality and all that, but we don't know the reason why he's here. Why is he trying to find these rings? Why does he have this arm that's covered in armor? We were getting teases. We find out a character from his past that is very important. And we were getting the hard-hitting questions about what are we going to do with Elwood? Like, he's just a kid. Is he going to be able to keep up with us? Also, I think another thing that probably pushed it back is when you have a shonen series and when you have a shonen series, the first thing you have to do by the end of the one shot or the first chapter of serialization is you have to put the goal in mind for our audience so that way they understand what's going on. And here in Zombie Powder, it was, I'm going to collect the 12 rings of the dead so that way I could gain immortality and Elwood can revive his sister. Simple enough, right? Throughout the course of this series, we only get one other ring. The rest of it is just, character build up and then distractions. And eventually we find a third one, but it's a little complicated, and that's going to be traveling with us in the story. But there was no antagonist, no other faction also trying to hunt for these. It's mentioned that Gamma is a ring hunter, but we never see any others. And that's probably another problem, is that during this time, people wanted that. They wanted to see something like that, right? Look how hyped Bleach got, like, after the Hollows. It's like, what are we going to do now? Oh, cool, Chad can come in every now and then. Oh, Uryu, he's from a different faction. He has different ideologies from Soul Reapers, and there's a clash there with him and Ichigo. That's cool. And he uses a bow. It's so different. Great. And just having it not early on in Zombie Power really hurt it again. And it just sucks to see, man, because I was actually invested in this by the very early on, and I wanted to see where we were going to go. And just to see it canceled was, yeah, again, very sad to see. So, highly recommend checking out. Well, I recommend checking out Zombie Powder. Really good stuff. If you want that classic Kubo, if you want that classic Kubo writing art style, it's definitely here. It's good all around, and I cannot wait for season 2 for Burn the Witch. And I just hope that Kubo has a good time with that, and that becomes an ongoing series, because again, I do like Kubo's writing. It's just Bleach was a very complicated story at the end of it, right? With all the drama and all that. That's all I have to say today, guys, for Zombie Powder. Thanks for sticking around. If you have any questions or comments, what do you guys think of the series? Do you think it came out at the wrong era? I would love to hear your thoughts, and you can send those emails at unversedpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll talk about it on the next episode as always. And while we wait for that episode, you can follow us on social media anywhere you go at Unversed Podcast. So thanks, guys, and we will catch you on the next episode.